The Chessboard of Stone. Episode 13. December 1971. The Plain of Jars. The Americans believed they had found Vietnam's Achilles heel right here. They poured in 8 of Thailand's most elite mercenary battalions, backed by hundreds of heavy artillery pieces, to lock down our western flank. They confidently declared, in Vietnam, we lost to the jungle. But here in Laos, in these open plains, no one can withstand American firepower. But they forgot one detail. General Le Trong Tan, the man dubbed the Zhukoff of Vietnam, had been there for a long time. Look at those giant stone jars, standing defiantly across the plateau. They have been there for thousands of years, cold and mysterious. But in 1971, they held no water or wine. They held shrapnel and the suffocating stench of gunpowder. Look at our 130mm artillery barrels, camouflaged with dry branches amidst the Laotian winter. Cold steel, wheels sinking deep into the mud. The Thai soldiers at Phu Quang were sitting in concrete bunkers, wearing headsets, believing the B-52s overhead were their absolute guardian gods. The scent of aromatic cigarettes and canned beer drifted from the royal bunkers. They didn't know that thunder was about to strike, and it wasn't coming from the sky. General Tan stood in the command post. He didn't look through binoculars. He looked at his watch. His silence made the staff officers hold their breath. What was he waiting for? He was waiting for the moment when the enemy's arrogance reached its peak. When the Thai soldiers thought Vietnam only had rifles and homemade mines. The Thais were taught by the Americans. War is a probability math of firepower. General Tan taught, war is the art of the impossible. On one side, 18 Bang Pao battalions and 8 Thai battalions supported by the 155mm king of the battlefield. On the other side, Vietnamese soldiers carrying rice on their backs, pulling artillery by hand over misty mountain peaks. The system said, Vietnam cannot bring heavy artillery into Laos. Reality answered, we are already at your bunker's doorstep. Do you believe in destiny? When the enemy thinks they are the hunter, only to realize they are the prey walking straight into a trap? I want to vindicate the land of Xiang Khoang. People call this the bomb pocket. But for the Vietnamese soldier, this was the battlefield to assert the stature of a regular army. The Thai soldiers didn't understand this terrain, they only understood fortifications. We understood every rock crevice, every blade of grass. The difference wasn't in big guns or small guns. It was in this: who belongs to this land more? The Plain of Jars in 1971 was no longer an archaeological site. It became a giant chessboard where every move by General Tan was calculated by the lives of thousands. The prophecy, strike so hard that Thailand fears us for 3 generations, began to take shape with the first salvos. Today, those stone jars still stand, bearing the scars of 130mm shells. They stand to remind us. True power does not lie in concrete fortresses. It lies in the minds that dare to think what no one else dares. Morning, December 18th, General Tan ordered to open fire. And for the first time, the Thai soldiers understood what conventional hell felt like. The 130mm steel rain and the crumbled fortresses. Episode 14. Morning, December 18, 1971. The Thai soldiers at the Phu Quang base woke up to a shriek that tore the sky apart. It wasn't the sound of their American bosses, B-52s. It was the sound of death, labeled, made in Vietnam. In just the first 30 minutes, the pride of the impenetrable American Thai defense system turned into a pile of rubble. Look at those meter-thick concrete bunkers at Phu Tan. They shattered like eggshells under the impact of the long-barreled 130mm shells. The Thai soldiers, used to relying on American fire superiority to suppress their enemies, now tasted the crushing power of Vietnam's regular artillery for the first time. White concrete dust mixed with blood. The roar of T-54 tank treads crushed through tangled barbed wire fences. Inside the bunkers, the stylish radios of the Royal Army emitted only hopeless static. They couldn't call for support. Because their own 105mm batteries had been silenced by our very first rounds. Chaos. Loss of communication. Thai officers, trained at elite American military academies, were now in utter panic. They couldn't understand how the Vietnamese dragged those giant cannons to the mountaintops. They couldn't understand how Vietnamese artillery could hit their bunker lids with centimeter precision. The Thais believed in America's king of the battlefield. But on the Xiang Khoang plateau right now, there was only one king, the precision of the Vietnamese artillerymen. On one side, mercenaries trying to find a way to flee behind the fortifications. On the other side, Vietnamese infantry surging forward like a breached dam following the clearing barrage. The system said, Vietnamese artillery only knows how to shoot and scoot. General Tan answered with a concentrated, rapid fire, annihilating barrage that left no time to react. Do you feel the collapse of a belief? When the weapon you trusted most becomes useless against the ingenuity of your opponent. I don't mock the Thai soldiers for being weak. I vindicate their terror. Anyone would be terrified to realize their opponent has completely evolved. No longer just fleeting guerrillas, but a battle-hardened army with seamless coordination between tanks, artillery, and infantry. The Thai soldiers panicked because they realized they were fighting a conventional war against masters of tactics. They were defeated not just by steel, but by awe at the stature of the People's Army of Vietnam. Phu Cang fell. Phu Tan disintegrated. The entire interlocking defense system that the US and Thailand painstakingly built was smashed in a single morning. But the climax of this battle didn't lie in firepower. It lay in a psychological chess game that General Tan had already set for the enemy's night of retreat. Today, the 130mm barrels rest in museums. But their tremors remain in the memories of the Thai veterans lucky enough to return home. It is a reminder. Never underestimate your opponent until you understand their heart. The Night of Death and the Southern Deception. Episode 15. Night of December 20th, 1971. In the campaign headquarters, General Le Trong Tan stood silent before the map. Outside, thousands of Thai soldiers were creeping through the darkness, turning off vehicle lights, holding their breath to escape. They believed they had fooled the Vietnamese with a noisy theatrical display to the north. But General Tan didn't look with his eyes. He looked with the instinct of a master hunter who had visualized the fear of his prey. Look at the southern road. Pitch black, so silent you could hear the dew falling on the leaves. Thousands of Thai soldiers were marching in that absolute stillness, hands gripping their rifle stocks, hearts pounding with the hope of escaping hell. Meanwhile, in the north, their diversionary troops were lighting flares that lit up the sky and revving engines loudly to distract us. The smell of diesel from empty trucks circling in the north was a material detail of deception. But the scent of fear rising from the silent column in the south was what General Tan was targeting. All artillery groups, adjust firing coordinates to the southern road. The order was issued. Staff officers were stunned. The scouts reported activity in the north, didn't they? General Tan didn't explain, he only smirked. Because he knew, the more the enemy tries to be silent, the more they're trying to hide their death. The north, bright lights, fake roars, an aura of lies. The south, vast darkness, a trudging line of men, an abyss of truth. And then, boom! The southern sky erupted with thousands of 130mm shells and 122mm rockets. A rain of steel poured down right into the huddling Thai formation. No retreat, no cover. The road they thought was the gate of life suddenly became the gate of death in a split second. How did he know? How can one man read the enemy's heart through a thick night filled with deceptions? I want to vindicate the Thai soldiers who fell on that southern road that night. They didn't die of cowardice. They died because they faced an intelligence that was not in their textbooks. They were betrayed by the very cleverness of their superiors. General Tan didn't hate those soldiers, he only executed a ruthless cut to end the war as quickly as possible. The Thai pain that night was a wake-up call for those who believe money and schemes can triumph over patriotism and insight. The next morning, as the smoke cleared, the southern road appeared as a giant graveyard of arrogance. Thai bodies, vehicles, and artillery lay piled up. But it was also there that the first Thai prisoners were given water and dry rations by our troops. General Tan's cut was finished. Now was the time for compassionate embraces for those who had awakened. Today, at the Plain of Jars, grass grows green over the old paths. But the story of the Southern Deception is still told as a legend of Vietnamese military genius. The battle ended. The Thai troops fled back to their country with a psychological scar named La Trong Tan. But history still has one final chapter: the awakening of a nation and the handshake of former foes. Memories of the vanquished and late-coming respect. Episode 16. After the Battle of the Plain of Jars, the Thai army returned home not to the sound of victory trumpets. They returned in a haunting silence. Royal generals, once proud of their American degrees, now faced a burning question from their nation. Why did an army armed to the teeth suffer such a crushing defeat against soldiers in rubber sandals? The answer did not lie in weapons. It lay in what the Thais later called the soul power of Vietnam. Look at the diaries of Thai officers, captured or rewritten years later. The handwriting trembles. They didn't write about macro tactics. They wrote about how Vietnamese artillery fired as if placed by the hand of death. They wrote about sleepless nights where the sound of a falling leaf felt like Vietnamese commandos infiltrating their bunkers. The scent of old pages, reeking of gunpowder, is proof of a shattered faith. The Thai soldiers realized American aid could buy M41 tanks, but it couldn't buy the composure in the face of death that the Vietnamese soldiers possessed. We lost before we even opened fire. That was the admission of a Royal Battalion commander. They lost because they viewed war as a high-paying job for hire. The Vietnamese viewed war as the very survival of their race. When the purpose of fighting is so drastically different, every technical specification becomes meaningless. Thailand, a country never colonized, with time to develop its economy, proud to be the tiger of Southeast Asia. Vietnam, a nation just emerging from blood and fire, poverty, and primitive equipment. The system said, the wealthier shall win. History answered, the one who knows who they hold the gun for is the one who stands last. This contrast is not meant to mock the Thais, but to highlight a truth. Political shrewdness may make you rich, but only steadfast ideals can earn you respect. Do you know why the Thais called General Tan the Lion of the Plain of Jars? Because even an enemy must bow before a military intellect that transcends its era. I want to vindicate the terror of the Thais. People often laugh at the saying, feared for 3 generations. But that fear was, in fact, a geopolitical awakening. Thailand realized its neighbor was a giant of will. From that fear, they began to change their attitude, from confrontation to dialogue, from enemies to partners. The defeat in Laos was the most expensive but most valuable lesson for Thailand to find a true path to peace with Indochina. The memories of the vanquished have today become precious documents. It is no longer a matter of shame, but a fair acknowledgement of an opponent. The sunset over the Mekong no longer reflects the silhouettes of warships, but the shadows of boats laden with the goods of friendship. Today, Thai veterans visit the old battlefields. They carry no hatred. They carry a late-coming respect for those who taught them a lesson in national self-respect. The bloody chapter of history has closed. But we still have one final episode to connect the past to the present. Episode 17 will be a mirror for posterity. History is for awakening. We stand at the final door of this journey. This is no longer a story of gun barrels or battles, but a story of inheritance. We edit this episode not to slumber in the past, but to wake up in the present. After all, history is not a pile of ashes for us to rake through for hatred. History is a mirror. We look into it not to see the scars of our ancestors, but to see our own faces today. Will we choose to be mercenaries, pawns on the boulevard of power, or will we choose to be masters of our own destiny? Look at the border milestones at the Indochina intersection today. The stones are no longer cold from the sound of cannons. They are warm under the sun and the footsteps of young people backpacking and doing business. Look at the Thai supermarkets rising in the heart of Hanoi, or the convoys of Vietnamese tourists lining the streets of Bangkok. These are the material details of peace. The scent of gunpowder from years ago has been replaced by the aroma of coffee blended from 3 nations. But behind that bustle, the lesson of the Thais' $1 billion contract remains as a reminder: an economy can be borrowed, but national self-respect must be built with one's own blood and bone. General Le Trong Tan said, "Feared for 3 generations." Today, that fear has transformed into profound respect. Respect for a Vietnam that never kneels. Respect for a nation that knows how to set aside the past but never forgets its blood-soaked lessons. That is a soft power stronger than any 130mm artillery battery. The past. 3 neighboring nations pushed into a fratricidal conflict because of calculations from across the ocean. The present. 3 nations under the same ASEAN roof, sharing the Mekong waters, facing global challenges together. The old system taught us how to destroy one another. Humanity today teaches us how to coexist. This contrast is proof of the maturity of a region once considered the powder keg of the world. Without those painful cuts, would we know how to cherish peace as we do today? Without the naked truth, would we know who is a friend and who is merely using the hands of others for profit? I dedicate this final episode to honor all those who fell on this land, regardless of which side of the front line they stood on. Vindicating the deceived Thai soldiers, mourning the Laotian soldiers caught in the whirlpool, and bowing before the Vietnamese soldiers who sacrificed their youth for independence. History has been fair. Every drop of blood spilled contributed to the awakening of a nation. We do not need written apologies, we need handshakes born of heartfelt understanding. Hector does not retell old history for us to drown in the past. We tell it so you can see, the Vietnamese people have the military genius of legendary generals, but also the tolerance of a civilized nation. History is an epic prose, where General Tan's ruthless cuts and the people's compassionate embraces have merged to create a solid future. Today, when you stand at the Thai intersection, Dong Nai, or in the middle of the Plain of Jars, Laos, take a deep breath. The wind still blows, the grass is still green. History has fulfilled its mission. Now, it is our turn. Thank you for journeying with Hector through 17 episodes of blood, tears, and pride. Keep history as a mirror, to walk more steadily on the path ahead. I am Sam, Success, your storyteller. Warm regards, and see you in the next Secret Dossiers.